Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the GTOpen Championship. We're kicking things off for the final round of the series. And obviously here at this point at qualifying one, after what can only be described as a hellacious free practice weekend so far, with mixed conditions coming into the fray. Of course, we are set for a very nice clear skies weekend, hopefully heading through towards the racing action commencing this afternoon and heading into tomorrow on Sunday. But the story so far, they're on the cusp of being champions. Jorge Cabezas and Ivan Velasco right in the mix after what can only be described as one salacious season, very rarely finishing outside of the podium places, with 3 wins to boot so far this season, the last one coming at Monza in race 2. They're going to look to perhaps again strike at the very top here at Barcelona, though they do have some new contenders to battle against. Oregon team, who of course are a prime fixture in the International GTOpen, they're now marking their appearance here in the GTOpen. Enrico Batera and Marzio Moretti stepping up here, looking to try and contend with the best of them here as well. Batera himself currently competing in the TCR International Series and the Italian Touring Car Championship, and is also a champion in Coppa Italia back in 2013 all the way through to 2015 as well. He's got a very capable teammate, that of Marzio Moretti, alongside him, now in his second season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. With 21 years of age, Lamborghini themselves have stood up and said that despite his young age, his youthful, obviously his experience as well, naturally, though, showing true maturity for his age, and is now giving himself a chance to perform at a very competitive level here in the GTOpen. NM Racing was second in free practice as well, just in behind by 46 thousandths of a second. Luke Ibanez and Jorge Villaban stepping up here and representing NM Racing in the Mercedes-AMG GT Cup car that is making its presence known here this weekend. And Ibanez, 2022 GT4 European Series runner-up, with Villaban competing in the Fanatec GT2 Championship in AM class, and also a winner at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. My name is George Morgan. Alongside me in the commentary box, as always, the one and only Chris Stevens. Chris, how you doing, sir?
Grand, George. Really looking forward to getting this final race weekend of the season underway. And as you mentioned, the Mertel Motorsport pairing of Ivan Velasco and Jorge Cabezas sitting very pretty at the moment. 31 points clear of Laurent van der Velde and Xander Prisbillak. But once we take the drop score into account, that gap is only 18 points. So they only need to just, if they finish ahead of the Q1 Track Racing pair behind them, then they will be crowned champions this afternoon. And rightly so, it's been an absolutely fantastic campaign for them. And yes, we've got some new faces in the championship as well. As you mentioned, the Lamborghini making its first appearance of the season in GT Cup. And of course, the Mercedes as well, which is a slightly interesting one, originally built for GT2 competition, but has been adapted to the GT Cup series. And it's nice to see that we're going to be hopefully next year getting a bit more intermarque competition, because one thing I've really loved about this season is the fact that we've had a great battle between Porsche and Ferrari all season long, and they're just building up to their first push laps now. They're taking it very easily indeed on that outlap, and I've been told that really you only want to do one push lap on a set of tyres here, as the 52 Q1 Track Racing Porsche's Laurent van der Velde, the man second in the championship, leading the AM standings as well, getting a little out of shape at turn 1, probably because the track temperature is only 13 degrees at the moment. Still very early in the morning here in Barcelona, but such is the deg that they've been experiencing with so many long high-speed corners. It's taking life out of the tyre pretty quickly, but maybe the temperatures we're seeing this morning is going to counteract that somewhat, because they don't seem to be in much of a hurry to get the lap times in.
Yeah, it's all about setting the rubber in. We have, of course, I've been walking around the paddock this weekend, speaking to a few of the AM drivers that took part in the bronze test heading into the weekend, and they set their times in the bronze. Overnight, the rain came in. It washed all the rubber away. They came back into free practice 3, and speaking to the pro drivers, all the data they collected through that bronze test was just nullified. It was just null and void. They could not use it, so they've had to go back out again. So it's still very much an unknown for those bronze drivers that are going to be competing in the International GTOpen later on this afternoon. Same could be said here for the GT Cup Open cars. They've got to try and ingrain some fresh rubber into this track as well, and hopefully this morning they'll get to do that, of course, donning the Michelin rubber that was used last season as well. And speaking about the variation in terms of car manufacturers, of course, we had a sea of Porsches last season. It has steadily progressed and developed into a manufactured series. We have seen the Ferraris enter the sport. Now we're seeing Lamborghinis and seeing Mercedes. It's fantastic to see.
Yes, and hopefully we'll see more Lamborghinis and a few other types of cup car next year. Of course, what they have got to do is work out the balance of performance this weekend, which is rather why we've got the Oregon Lamborghini and the NM Mercedes here with us this weekend. Porsche is still very much dominating the field with 12 of the 19 cars being that of the German marque, 9 of them being the newer 992 version. And here's a look at that Super Trofeo car with the number 10. That's Enrico Patera at the wheel at the moment, the 52-year-old Italian, the bronze driver, taking that car for its first laps in qualifying. I had a good chat with Dan Arrow about this car yesterday, because of course he's dual campaigning in the GTOpen in the GT3 car and in Super Trofeo Europe with Abby Eaton as well with this car, and says that this car is it's more like the street car and a bit more mechanically dependent than the GT3 car, which of course is a thoroughbred pure racing car.
Yeah, absolutely right. Alex Ryman going purple in the first 2 sectors and nearly touching over the 2-second mark, as you'd expect. Currently sat second fastest behind Michael Boschez. I got to meet one half of the Boschez brothers. If you want to tell the difference between them, one's got no hair, the other one's got a nice luscious lock of hair on the back of his head, as we now see Alex Ryman venture outside of New Holland and make his way down the straight now before setting yet another time. Goes fastest, 1:45.752 to get us underway. So Ryman takes the top, and now Van der Velde in second fastest. Remember, of course, he is chasing that AM Championship.
Yeah, so just to put that into perspective, fastest time from yesterday was set by the number 10 Oregon in FP2, which was a 45.280. So we're still we're still quite a few seconds away from that, actually, because that time from Ryman has just been deleted for track limits at the penultimate corner, and that's one we're definitely going to have to watch out for. Here's a look at that NM Racing Mercedes, which is another new addition to the grid for this weekend. As I said, originally built for GT2 competition, but adapted to the GT Cup regulations, and now see, it's very easy to cut on the inside of turn 13 as well. So we're not just looking at the exit of corners, we're looking at the apexes as well. Of course, it's the new old version of Barcelona that we're racing on, not the slow final sector, the brilliant high speed 2 fast right-handers to round out this lap, and of course the more open version of the turn 10 hairpin as well. So fundamentally what the circuit looked like some 20 years ago, actually, but a slightly different profile to turn 10 compared to those days. But Alex Ryman going for another lap here. The university student, just 18 years of age, and got big ambitions for next season as well, hoping to do more in Carrera Cup across Europe, and studying law at De Montfort University as well, and engineering as well, so he's not just talented behind the wheel of a race car.
No, sets another 1:45 as well to put him at the top of the timing screen. But there are more purple sectors coming in. Fabio Babini now purple in the second sector, goes purple in sector 3 and goes fastest, and over 0.2 of a second faster than Alex Ryman up at the top of the timing screen. Jörg Vierban also finding 31.2s in the first sector. He's purple already, and as you can see, flashing the lights, just prior warning the car in front just to get out of my way. I want to set my lap, as he now, well, he's lost quite a bit of time in that middle sector, approximately 0.3, and losing the rear slightly coming out of that hairpin section, rises up through back Sambadel, and then he's got Europe car corner where he's going to try and nestle the car inwards. Now you can try and extend, you don't want to go too far though. White lines, you just see that cutting to the inside there, which is certainly going to hinder him as far as the stewards are concerned. And obviously Race Control will definitely be taking a look at track limits this weekend as well. Takes a nice wide line, uses all the curve on the outset, crosses the line as well, third fastest, 1:45.965. But just a word on that layout, of course, we witnessed obviously the changes heading in towards the Lakea bend, heading down the bottom of the hill. They've opened up that hairpin now. It's no way near as tight as it used to be. Swooping through that section, you then take the climb up towards Bank Sambadel as into the gravel goes the Mercedes-AMG GT3 GT Cup, sorry. Enrico Bertera now goes purple in the first sector, but just alluding to that chicane now going as well. Of course, Europe car now distinctly faster than what it used to be, and it hooks up directly to New Holland, so you can expect the straight line speeds down the home straight to be that much quicker.
Certainly can. And that'll be great news for the Ferraris, of course, because they have proven to be absolute kings in a straight line this year with significantly more power than the Porsches, but the Porsche tends to own the corners. So actually, I'm being told this is probably the worst track of the year for the Ferrari, because there's only one long straight, the rest of it's all very fast corners. And of course, the wraps were pulled off the new 296 challenge during the week as well, and talking to a few of the teams who are eyeing up adding a few of those to the grid for next season in replacement of the 488, but I think we'll still see quite a few of those 488 challenges throughout next year as Bertera goes 5th fastest. But the real astonishing thing about the new 296, 700 brake horsepower from the 3-litre twin-turbo V6. That's 30 more than the 488 challenge we see at the moment. So we think about how fast that Ferrari's been in a straight line this year. This new 296 is going to be something even more special as Jan Lauritsen now goes fastest. The reigning champion, of course, came back to the championship at Monza and took victory on his return, and a timely reappearance in the championship, given that Q1 Track Racing is going for the team's title. They've been in a pretty big battle with Mertel Motorsport for that championship throughout the entire season. So a welcome return from Q1 to Jan Lauritsen as Luka Ludwig gets very sideways under braking for the downhill turn 5 and spits that 81 Ferrari into the gravel trap, but gets it going again and is on his way.
Yeah, incidentally, Jan Lauritsen, not only a champion last season, but also back in 2021, would go on to become a race winner at this very track for the first time in the GTOpen Europe, and that was in race 2 during that year with Q1 Track Racing by AMG Motorsport. Of course, still remains with the Q1 outfit and looking to perhaps become a winner again at this circuit. Did not manage to win here last year. Of course, that went to Alex Fontana in race 1 and Bashar Mardini and Christopher Zirkling in the second race too. So GTL Racing, incidentally, were the dominant force last season at this circuit.
And though there are only 2 races that Lauritsen didn't win last year, he contested 9 races, won 7 of them. So it was champion quite convincingly in that particular year. Message popped up on our timing screen. All drivers must respect track limits. I think they're getting a bit fed up of their antics already, and it's only just gone past 10 o'clock, so it's going to be a long day for race control.
Well, unfortunately for the Mercedes, we did capture that very tight inwards curve. You could see very much betrayed the lines, I think, on that run. And obviously race control stepping up and making a point of suggesting that that's an error. Speaking of errors, Enrico Bertera licking the gravel trap on the outset of New Holland, making a little error, heading into the braking zone. Just seen them there, miss the apex. A little bit of understeer perhaps coming into play there as well, dipping into the gravel and unfortunately having to recover.
Yeah, a wiggle on the way in to the corner by the looks of it. Now this is on board with the number 80 Mertel car. That is the championship leading car of Jorge Cabezas, tucked into the slipstream of the Mercedes, getting very close under braking. This should be interesting because the Mercedes has got, I think, a similar amount of power to the Ferrari. We're seeing these cars sort of skipping around and the tails wagging all over the place just because of the sheer amount of power that the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, and I believe the Mercedes produce. So it'll be interesting to see how those cars perform, not only around the corners, but also in comparison with each other, especially because the Mercedes and the Lamborghini are new. Cabezas currently hasn't really put in a representative time at the moment. He's currently last of the 19 cars with a 1:53.9, some 9.5 seconds off the pace. And this lap isn't going to be too hot for him either, because he's tucked right up behind this Mercedes.
Yeah, he's very much tucked up in behind that rear spoiler on the Mercedes indeed as they make their way through the fast right-hander at Camp Secorda. Incidentally, we are seeing some green times being put in place nonetheless from Luca Ludwig, who set a purple middle sector. We rejoin now Cabezas, who does give a little bit of breathing space to the Mercedes that now sees itself climb up the back Sambadel section, of course, that passes through the grandstands on the left-hand side as we take a look at this very picturesque drone shot as we now rejoin the Mercedes making its way through the next right. Of course, it's got one more corner to take, a very fast-paced section. You'll certainly try and make the apex, hopefully not make an error this time around. Makes its way down the straight. Where are we going to see the lap times now be put into place? York Vierbahn, he'll go, I think at this stage, 7th fastest in the Pro-Am classification. Of course, the 1Am that currently stricken in between the Pro-Am classification drivers in that top 7 is Nicholas van Dierendonck in P5. Jan Lauritsen still unperturbed at the top with that 1:44.450. Though, as we alluded to, there is obviously faster times here on the board. We will, of course, find them, though I will say this, we've already blasted past the practice times that we have come to expect. We are on the 1:44s now as we see Lorenzo Innocenti head down the straight as well. One of the new blood, shall we say, to GT Racing, and has taken part in Ferrari Challenge and joined the GT Cup Open this season, obviously in the Ferrari Team Rosso Corsa. We've got Bellici alongside this man, who is obviously a very experienced driver and has been part of GT, the fabric of GT racing and touring car racing as well for such a long time, and has provided himself his services as a tutor to Innocenti, and definitely well worthy of that accolade too. And naturally, Innocenti's become by far a better driver every time he steps into the car, and now currently sees himself sat in P7. Luca Ludwig now 3rd fastest, approximately 7/10 away from Lauritsen at the top. No one quite getting to within a tenth. Babini still well outside, in fact, 3 3/4 tenths away from Lauritsen's time at the sharp end. 1:44 though is definitely where you need to be.
Yeah, so just under 4/10 between the top 2 at the moment. Still Lauritsen on original pole at the moment. Luca Ludwig's done a very good first sector on purple, and fastest in the speed trap as well, at 264.7 kilometers an hour before breaking into turn 1. And this is Jorge Cabezas, hopefully getting his first proper lap time across the board. He does indeed. It goes 5th fastest, some 9/10 of a second behind Lauritsen, and goes into turn 1 now. And so that is of course the car that could be crowned champion this afternoon, so long as they don't get outscored by Laurent van der Velde and Xander Prisblack by more than 3 points. Jan Lauritsen just having a quick word with the Q1 team, getting a bit of encouragement there. And these are the 2 cars that are going for the AM Championship line astern at the moment. But I alluded to that purple sector from Luca Ludwig. He's still on a very good lap here. It's not a personal best in the middle sector, but he's still up on a time he needs to go fastest. Hopefully he won't be too perturbed by these 2 cars in front of him. Pushing the limits on the final corner there, and now getting a great tow behind the Porsche, and ultimately misses out by some 8/10 of a second.
Yeah, that last sector I think was crucial, as we now see stepping under the call. Yeah, Lauritsen seems content. He's out of the car, not looking to improve on what he's already shown. So no further laps here from Jan Lauritsen. A 1:44.450 will be his best time, but we've already seen that some cars are knocking on the door of purple sectors in the first sector. We saw Luca Ludwig do it only a lap or so ago. We got improvements as well for Alex, Jorge Cabezas improving as well in the first 2 sectors. He's done a 31.3 in sector 1, 41.9 in sector 2, looking for something a little more as Ludwig once again goes purple in the first sector. He's looking so dialed in, but he has got traffic in front of him here, and naturally this could be a hindrance. It certainly is. He's going to try and blast past here and make his way up the hill, heading out of Saat through towards Kamsa very shortly. Runs a little wide, takes the sausage curb. That's certainly going to unhinge him ever so slightly. I would not be surprised to see time lost in that sector.
Well, I don't know about the track limits, but good thing is that Ferrari has run so high as part of the balance of performance that he's probably actually been able to get away with running over that sausage curve. It's nowhere near as much of a hindrance as it would be in, say, the Porsche or indeed a single-seater. Lost quite a bit of time in that middle sector, though, as a result of having to round up the Kessel Ferrari in front of him. We're talking about track limits. The NM Racing team manager has been called to the stewards' room, and that is because that car has been very much a repeat offender of track limits, and they want to go and have a word and make sure they know what the track limits actually are. But Luka Ludwig has been threatening a good lap time here, and that was not one of them. So he's fourth fastest at the moment, 7/10 away from provisional pole. We've got just over a minute left on the clock, so if he's got life left in the tyres, he can go for that provisional pole. You see him soaring at the wheels, at the angle of the front wheels, switching away as he was wrestling with that car through the first corner. Of course, Luka Ludwig, if that's a familiar name, it's because he is a two-time class winner of the Nürburgring 24 Hours, including one overall win as well. Did that sound like somebody's tyres were screeching?
A huge squeal there coming from the circuit. I'm not quite sure what that was, but alluding back to the track limits, of course, there are two cameras stationed over at the final corner, so the stewards have taken certainly a very sincere look around that last sector. Obviously, that opened up section of track now that's at turn 13 into turn 14. Two cameras positioned there just to keep an eye on where the track limits and whether the drivers are obeying the limits at this point, as we now see the Ferrari take the upwards climb, heading through that final point of the lap. Very, very soon got to come through Campster Corner, the very fast-paced section. Lakea exists down the bottom of the stretch. Of course, is being met again with the same Ferrari that he saw before and is in fact backed out. So we won't see any improvements from Luka Ludwig. He's going to stay behind by nearly 7/10 of a second. But there is the Ferrari number 69 that's making its way around of Michael Boschez, of course, in the AM class, second in the AM qualifying proceedings, because, of course, he's got Nicolas van Durendonk currently sat in 7th as well, but certainly looks like he might not be necessarily improving to a great deal. We're keeping our eyes peeled, and no improvements in the first two sectors, so it does look like the checkered flag is going to bring this to a close with Jan Lauritsen. He was confident. He stepped out the car a little earlier than we might have expected, but on pole by a near mighty 4/10. It's in fact 3 3/4 tenths of a second. Jan Lauritsen back on top in GT Cup Open. Yet another pole for him.
Championship leaders Jorge Cabezas and Ivan Velasco starting in 3rd place there as well, and the team that could take it away from them, Lauren van der Velde and Xander Prisbalak, 7th overall, and AM pole position as well. And of course, second in AM is their nearest title rivals for that championship as well, Mikhail and Alexandra Puchez, the two twin brothers there. So that's a tasty looking grid for this afternoon's race.
Yeah, fantastic news for the Porsche outfits as well, knowing that they still have a Porsche manufactured car, despite there being more variants in terms of manufacture in this championship. And great to have the variation, but still at the same time the competitive element, and Jan Lauritsen proving that he is certainly a cut among the rest, and ahead of Fabio Babini, who slots himself into 2nd with Jorge Cabezas, who's obviously alongside Ivan Velasco, chasing the championship this weekend, and it could all yet be decided when we head into race 1 this afternoon. Jan Lauritsen is your pole sitter with 1:44.450. Fabio Babini in 2nd, Jorge Cabezas in 3rd, Luka Ludwig in 4th, Alex Ryman in 5th, Evgeny Leonov in 6th, Nicolas van Durendonk 7th, with Lorenzo Innocenti in 8th, Jörg Vierbahn in his first appearance in 9th, Michael Boschez in 10th place. 11th place going to Laurent van der Velde with Florentin Cescu in 12th place. Enrico Patera in 13th with Stefano Zanini in 14th. Indrek Jaska in 15th. Glauco Solieri 16th. Fabio Fabiani 17th. Stefano Bozzoni 18th with Roberto Vecchio in 19th place. So there we have it. A great start, and certainly for Jan Lauritsen, he's going to look to try and bring this home. And with him being the sole driver in the car, it gives him a chance to compose himself here, Chris, and get as much track time as he can. We just saw there Michael Boschez just giving us the finger salute. Let's take a look at the slow-mo. Jorge Cabezas, the championship leader, alongside Ivan Velasco. They're going to be chasing the crown this afternoon. They qualified P3. Fabio Babini came across the line 2nd fastest in qualifying for ZRS Motorsport, but no Well, certainly no disputing over the man who was fastest. Jan Lauritsen with a 1:44.450 sets the fastest lap in qualifying, and he's going to be standing by very shortly with Alfredo Filipponi. And under the sunlight, I'm sure they'll be looking ahead later on this afternoon to hopefully yet more promise, maybe even more points, Chris. They've got a great chance.
We certainly do. Race coming up at 1:40 local time this afternoon. And yeah, we could well be crowning our first Ferrari champions there. Of course, first year in this championship. It's been a very competitive one at that as well. The fact that we've got Porsche v Ferrari in all three championships so far this year goes to show what a great job the GT Sport team has done to get these two cars close together in competition this year.
Yeah, it's great to see, and as we say, it's always wonderful to have multi-manufacturers, especially here in GT Cup Open, which only witnessed generally Porsche representation last season. But since Ferrari came in at the start at Portimao, we've since seen more and more manufacturers stepping up and bring their best to the forefront. And now having not just Ferrari and Porsche, but also Lamborghini, Mercedes, what could that mean for the future of this championship? It certainly looks like it's brimming with anticipation and promise. And we do have the interview standing by with Jan Lauritsen with Alfredo Filipponi.
Hey, I come.
Jan Lauritsen and the next generation also. How are you?
Hoe gaat het met jou? Heel goed.
Pole position, Barcelona. Again, like in the old times. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel really good. But yesterday I struggled a little bit. I hit the wall 2 times. I go a little bit crazy last night, but yeah, today it was. I go out. I did 1 fast lap and I rode this pole position. So for me, it's really good. The team worked really hard to get a good setup on the car. So yeah, looking forward for the race.
Never an easy track, huh?
No, it's quite slippery and the sun a little bit low, but yeah, I really like this track in Barcelona, so nah.
Well done for now. All the best for later.
Thank you.
Well, mass celebrations with the Lauritsens. We'll see how they get on later on this afternoon when of course, we go racing at 20:02 local time. Be sure to tune in, obviously, when we bring you all the action live here from Barcelona.